Right, good morning, and it's excuse me, it's quite early in the morning this side. There's a washing machine going on in the background. There's my my PC is busy. I've got two PCs running right now, just to kind of tell you about hashtag my life. One crashed, and so it's busy now loading a whole lot of uh, data on. And here I sit, and I'm ready for another lesson. We're actually coming towards. I mean, I think we've got like another 3 weeks, 3 weeks, yeah, of class left. Please don't obviously do not forget that you can always just make a session with me so that you can have clarity on either the lessons or the material or your books or just student life or your F2s that are coming up as well. And any questions that have to regard or that have any regard to podcasting itself. Another short lesson, another two short lessons that are on for today. Again, please be finishing completing the exercises so you can test yourself. Ideally, you should be testing those, those outcomes with me so that you can see whether you're right on the correct track. But let's continue with lesson prep. Sorry, not lesson prep, show prep, right? So a show prep with just in terms of all the elements that we want to include into our show itself. And today we're going to just look at the different aspects. First of all, just ourselves, looking at the character map. Obviously you can't be in this industry genuinely if you don't know how to utilize your personality. Again, I think I've said this in previous lessons that there's that everyone has a personality. It's really it doesn't even sociopaths and serial killers have a personality. And serial killers have a really terrible personality, but sociopaths who actually feel nothing or apathetic to life actually have some kind of I would say there's a chemical imbalance. There's something that's not rewired correctly, and they actually have no feeling altogether. Still have a personality, right? Everyone has a personality. In media, you know this. We say we utilize it to its utmost extent, its exponential extent, which means that we have to look at the it's not just that easy to kind of switch it on and switch it off unless you've obviously had years of experience and understanding that you have to be in various like I say contextual situations. So either being on air, being in front of an audience, like being on TV, whether you're running like live streams, whatever it may be, anything that kind of tests your different personality. I'm saying sectors within a media, I say like a media platform, but then also know that you should be able to switch that on and off with practice. Like I say, when you are around people, just I say normal people, so in your everyday life, right? And see which aspects of your character like you can utilize to get what you want, in other words. So in other words, to communicate what you want, to get a point across, to have a conversation that is that's of value. If at any one point when you want to talk kind of rubbish, unless it's like the cool kind of garbage, that kind of innocent, that kind of shallow, but also just it's kind of like friend to friend. I do that often with my cousin. We talk for like 2 hours. She's in England right now. But I mean, she was there when I was born. We have a picture to prove it. She was like 3 years old. I was like 0 days old, but we were both curious. And she, like, it's one of those things where we don't always talk like, and this is also just one of those things on air as well, just in life. Like, we're going to just talk about stuff, and stuff is also cool just to talk about, right? There's lots of stuff to talk about. Okay, so when you look at your character map, like you've got to look at different aspects of like yourself. Okay, um, so for example, we can even start with just like I said, the aesthetics of how you look, and this is like let's say I have hazel eyes. I used to have like brunette hair and it's all nice and grey. It's great, right? I am 1.72. I say, what is it, meters? I will not say when I weigh 79 kilograms, like, and I can continue and continue, for example, so I have very obviously Mediterranean look. I am Greek after all, and fiercely South African at the same time. So when I open my mouth, now we start hearing a lot of the South African, like, because I was born here, you know, and those aspects of that come a little bit more of how I speak and what I say and how I and what my personality starts to look like in terms of the decisions that I make and the statements that I make and stuff like that, right? We can start going into then the thought process, like your thought processes, so your mindset and what you believe in and what you like and what you don't like, and are you shy or are you not shy, and what type of situations are you shy in, and what type of situations are you kind of like dancing on tables at a club, that type of stuff, right? When I say that, yeah, okay, maybe I have a little bit like one or two like brutal fruits. I don't know what people drink anymore. Um, uh, but yeah, that's a genuine thing. I do not drink anymore, quote unquote. There was a good long time I was dancing on tables and stuff. But the point is that your different aspects of your personality are so broad, so massively like complex and very interesting and rich. Here are five other ways of interesting personality and characterization into music radio links. How you can actually, just give me a second. As I said, I'm just restoring this piece here. So, yeah, there we go. Okay, so there are different, like I said, there are different aspects of being on air that will bring out those different sides of you. And when I say different sides, not it mustn't be like some kind of schizophrenic, like extreme bipolar uh, personality where also you are, kind of two personalities. One's this aggressive, kind of like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type thing. Um, but information brings out aspects of us that are it shows us a little bit of confidence, especially if it's subject matter that we are interested in and we love. When we're trying to find out, just more about information. So what is this? How interested are we? How invested we are? Welcome, shake hands with the listeners. So the way that you interact and engage with people, and how you take phone calls, yeah, and lifestyle comments. Give me a quick pause, yeah. Back in a second. Second, yeah. So as I was saying there, just ending off with how you interact with people just in general. So welcome, shake hands with the listeners. That you are. So let's say that's from I say from a one, I said a one-sided point of view. So for example, the way that you are putting your links together, and you are, obviously you're constructing them in a way that is directed directly at a listener, before you go and you interact with them in other way, like I say, I'm taking phone calls. How is your commentary on life? Do you have an opinion? And does it make sense? Is it like, obviously you need to, on radio and any public platform, be very careful as to how you air your opinion. That doesn't mean that you have to completely like dilute it, but I mean, if you are someone that is quite abrasive, I'm saying to you can be abrasive and still be a good communicator. You can still be a people quote unquote pleaser, which is a nice person, not a slave. I'm saying. So for example, but still be a great communicator. So if you are, like we've seen and we see in so many ways in our lives, just like those people that kind of force things upon you. They force conversation, not conversation, opinions and statements, and they don't want to have they don't want to have any kind of input, or again like a two-way instead of in that first initial one-way communication. Well, I mean, people don't want to listen to people like that. They don't listen to people like that just in general. They might find them a little bit of a novelty, like for a moment, and I mean that as literally as I can tell you for a second. But the thing is that like it is just one of those boring things, you know. But again, that commentary has to be purposeful when we are on air, and we have to make sure that what we have planned, what we have prepped, and what we have like our mind space needs to be in the right space at the end of the day, to make sure that you're again you're kind of crossing all those check boxes when you're saying who am I speaking to, why am I speaking to them today about something in particular. What station is this? Where do they live? What do they do? Like what conversations would they like to continue with me? If, for example, where can they put in their, input, etc., etc. Right? Okay. Um, right. Yeah. Just off the back end of that, and I just want that link or the character map, just to not kind of float away when you sit down and start just take a notebook and just start writing down like different aspects of yourself that you are sure of, and even those are aspects that you're not sure of. So for example, I mean, I always say, well, what do I like, uh there's many things in this life that I like. I can carry on quite infinitely for that. But there's a lot of things that I do not like, which I know are definitive. I'm saying to you in terms of they are finite. I can and to kind of get to where I want to go on the opposite side, like say on what I like. I start off on the far extreme, and that works with a lot of different things when you're trying to answer questions about yourself. Try and be like, okay, well, look, I do not like, let's say people that are, for me, so like arrogance must stay to one place. If you don't understand healthy arrogance and healthy ego, then you must genuinely just enjoy yourself in your own mirror, with your own space, in your own private space, with no commentary towards my side, because man, that's obviously kind of that assumption that you are better than others. I can't stand that. I can't stand people who put other people down. I can't. I also genuinely can't stand when I look on social media, for example, and there's posts that are mimicking um sorry, not mimicking, but mocking, like like let's say overweight people, or like people that are not as smart as, or whatever it is. Like there's always these memes that are quite horrendously, it's laughing at. I don't like that at all. And I can carry on. I don't like people that are blasphemous in terms of they just attack, obviously, religions, and attack them aggressively. And also, I can again I can pinpoint quite a few more. Which I say this to you so that you know that, for example, like let's say people that are blasphemous, like you can tell, I can already start writing down for myself what type of person I am. I am religious, and I do believe in the power of faith. And for example, like that gives you also a bit of my background as well. And I also understand like what like leads my actions, and also what kind of guides them at the same time, doing right or wrong, or like battles that I might have, or battles that I do have with, let's say, my particular divinity, obviously being a Christian, being the Lord. But let's say going with that goes off ethics, that goes off actions, that goes off values, that goes off whatever it may be, right? As some kind of a denomination, like I say, or cultural, sorry, religious culture will bring you to. But let's talk about. I want you to focus on how those become character traits that are all over the place. I said, for example, like, someone that genuinely has built some kind of really like odd. Obviously, when I say odd, it's very odd because you have made it up. I'm saying to you, where you have this belief in it, you confuse confidence. Confidence is great for a person, but when you start feeding it by and on the shoulders of others, and the pain of others, whatever it may be, like I don't have time for like there's no time for you. Like I don't have time for you. Like you're a horrendous person that is seeking quite actively out to be like like again kind of again destructive to the world around you at your own for your own benefit, which it doesn't sit well with me because I don't really understand the permanent nature of it. In other words, let me go from the other side without giving you a life story. For me, it is about empathy. It is about also understanding that look, I mean, if you're this type of person, like I'm not going to sugarcoat you. You are that way. Don't want to interact with you. But if I can see anything else, I can see, and I want to interpret, and I want to look more into depth to the person that I'm dealing with, speaking to, see what their opinions are. I want to have that kind of contrast with what I believe and what I've seen and what I don't know in life, maybe. But people are interesting. They really are because they are very complex. And again, it's a simple thing of, well, I mean, do you respect one life and others? And hashtag do you don't? Do you don't? I like that. Doesn't make sense, but it makes perfect sense, right? Anyway, so you must start doing that, and then it brings it all back down. You'll see that you can write basically like this endless book. It's kind of like your Bible, in a way. That's kind of an autobiography or biography of you, just on who you are. That's it, because you're going to be saying, there's a reason why I do what I do, and I am what I am, and I act where I am, and what I say is what I say. Just keep that in mind. I'm going to end that conversation. Let's go back to what a P2 listener is. Definitely a listener that considers more than one obviously station. Remember, I think I've said this in the previous lesson. So P1 listeners are not actually, they're not actually the focus of radio stations, just because of the fact that they're very particular and they're there already. We're looking at P2 listeners, which are much broader. Um, uh, just a second here. Yeah, just a much broader, um, a much larger market and amount of people. So when we are, like for example, they are the ones that we actually get when we're sampling a radio station, because again, like these, uh, yeah. So sorry for this. Second. Yeah, you see? Okay, so again, the goal is to keep the listeners tuned in and to keep them listening. This can be done in a couple of ways. One, obviously, prep. That's what we want. All right. Front load every link creatively. So, in other words, make sure that you're using. So, whether it be a teaser, whether it be, like I said, a generic link, whether it be a content link, whether it be an interview. So I say content, I'm saying call out. So any type of link, sponsorship, like whatever it may be, like that's all good, that's all fine. But just make sure that you have one construction to it, right? And the second thing is that's two, like there must be again must follow all the aspects of, for example, our what was I going to say now with the hook and the pay, the dress up and the crumbs and the payoff and the blackout. So let the audience get to know you very slowly as well. I'm saying, and that's when I say slowly, just again, think about it like meeting someone at a party or meeting, like, let's say, someone at a family gathering or a wedding or you're going out, whatever it might be on a blind date. And see how you do share quite a lot. But the thing is that at the end of the day, you're also sharing bits and pieces so people get to know you and get to like you as well. Take callers, develop story arcs, a tease, and also contextualize. And also, no one was saying always, please, the thing is the worst thing to hear on radio is something that you don't understand. Why is this person saying this? Like, why are they what's the reasoning? Where's the story coming from? What's the point, at the end of the day? So once you've considered all the previous points and the content has been created, well, it's time to put the content into a running order or a runner, right? It's just one of the words for just the way that we're going to execute. I will put out our prep together and have a prep sheet for the show. Different presenters enjoy different types of running orders. So that's what I'm saying to you. It's like for me, it's very simple in the sense that I'll open up a Word document as I know that I know my clock is a certain way. I've already constructed that. Every time I start a new show, every time you are on a new slot, new station, doesn't matter. You'll redraw that clock, and then you'll apply yourself and you'll show it to it. So in other words, you'll take that clock and you'll develop a template, and the template will look it'll be varied. All right, okay. Um, but when I say the template, like for me, it's where where are the benchmarks. So for example, news. I'll make sure that let's say I know which like even though if I've done it 1,000 times, I'll put that say play this jingle. Make sure that this obviously like this channel is open for if we're going to play some sound bites. Make sure that you are, you ask the news reader if you're new, for example, what's their name, so maybe I can throw forward to them or whatever it may be if it is necessary, and so on and so forth, right? So for like I say, important phone numbers really is good. The phone number, the SMS line, the WhatsApp number, the website as well as details, for example, around obviously your social media handles, but just some aspects as well that you can fill time with as well in your generic links about what's happening on the website, what's happening in your, let's say you've got a podcast portal that you're using, like Spotify, or it doesn't really matter, it doesn't, whatever it is. If there are any competitions, what's there, like go to like make sure you like put in brackets there and you say there, okay, make sure, have a look at, let's say, the competition brief. Today is day number 3 of 5 or 3 of 17 or whatever it may be, right? And then again, just putting it's again like, for example, let's say you are at, say, in a class and you're busy taking notes. But ideally, what you want to do is, you want to look at your textbook and make those little like those posted, where you kind of make stickers or whatever it may be. Or I used to just highlight stuff in my textbook just to make sure that there were certain points that I would want to stand out, but also things that I had to focus on that were maybe confusing, different highlights for different things. So just in terms of the running order, I'm just going to quickly, I'm going to put a little bit of make this a little bit bigger so you can see what it actually looks like. So if you have a look, there'll be then the 12, 12, 15, 12, 20. But there are also, again, like I wouldn't, you might be thinking that you need to put this in lines. You don't have to, but it's exactly like that. Put the time first, and then put the actual link. I'm saying to add the details of news intro, for example. Again, let's say there's audio required, exactly as I've said to you. There might be there's a sound bite that you must put the sound bites code, for example, as well, that is saved on the playback system. Maybe you need to go and find it, whatever it may be. But also make sure that you definitely put the way that you've saved from the system, that name, so you can go and search for it as well. This also happens, I mean, like let's say you've got pre-recorded voice notes or boxes or whatever it may be. You want to also have, like I say, a library, with its codes, that you're going to be using for the show itself. And again, as you point out your prep, for me, again, a lot easier just to not have it in these blocks and stuff. It's a little confusing. It's a little, I don't know, for me, claustrophobic. Make sure, but these are very important that you do also one. Maybe you have to do, and maybe you do have to number your links in case you are getting used to, like for example, in an hour, like you might only be able to do 4 or let's say 5 links, and you don't want to kind of mess that around as well. Um, at the end of the day, yeah. So Yeah, let's just have a look at some of the aspects. This one I'm going to just so here's just an example of, okay, but please again, this is the running order, not the prep, okay? And this will bring us to the end of the lesson as well. So the running order is just basically like if you've worked in television, you will note that there will be more of a running order that looks kind of similar maybe, and it'll give you like there'll be, let's say, sources live, is it on tape? I mean, I'm saying in terms of is it pre-recorded, whatever it may be. What types of formats? Got vox pops, got an intro that's obviously done live. Let's say here information about the interview, kind of throwing forward to, let's say, this Ministry of Food and Agriculture. It's done by the host technician. The host, it also will allow you to understand that like that you're heading towards a certain time. You understand back time of you can see that it goes marked with information, etc. So this is just a running order. I find that this is only necessary in very complex shows, with where there's a number of different people, uh, producer, host, technician, other team members that might need to understand as well, like what is happening and when it's happening and what my role is, and what I need to get ready for, to make sure that that technician knows how to where to find the vox popses, etc. The host needs to come on, do whatever they need to. There is time that is allocated to them on air, and they've got to be responsible for that. This works much better on TV or within the television environment. And then here, yeah, I'm just gonna just take this down a little notch here. See, great articles here. You can have a look at the running order for too small. Yes, you can. So that, there we go. What else can I learn about run sheets? There's things from 99% Invisible, from Exchange, prx.org, but also BBC Radio, which is kind of cool and kind of great. All right, please remember that at the end of the lesson, there's always an activity for you to do. Complete activity for a question 3 on page 146, and then make sure that you contact me to, have a bit of some background on that. I'll start the share there, and I'm going to end the recording so we can carry on with the next